Rya Crusade, the Aradia's Reavers, is an action platformer with run-and-gun combat designed similar to NES and Famicom era classics like Contra. It features old-school pixel art and chiptune music. And the thing that's a bit different, though, is that this is an adult-themed game. So you're not going to find this coming to any consoles. And it also does limit me a bit in what I can show and talk about. The game contains a lot of nudity, sex scenes, and just overall is very adult in nature. So although I'm not going to show any of this, because I'm certainly not comfortable showing any of this on YouTube, understand that that is what this game contains. This is not your run-of-the-mill run and gun. But what interested me about this isn't that adult content. It's actually that the gameplay looked pretty fun. This is also structured quite a bit like NES and Famicom games. It is divided up into different levels, which each culminate in a boss fight. You have a small little overworld map, so each time you complete a level, it'll unlock the next planet, and you could always save and come back. It only saves in between levels. You can't save mid-level, but the way you play this is pretty much like Contra. You can run and crouch and jump, and that's it. You can switch freely between your pistol and your weapons that you pick up, which is a nice touch, and that might seem like a really simple thing to call out, but I can't tell you how many run and guns that I play where they don't allow you to switch between guns when your weapons that you pick up only have limited ammunition. I am dead serious. There are so many games where this is not a thing, and you're forced to use your pickup until you deplete its ammo, and then you go right back to your pistol, which essentially is your infinite ammo standard weapon. So that was a really nice touch, and the way you acquire these weapon pickups is simply by shooting these little robots, and they'll drop a letter which will denote which weapon you're going to get. You can only carry one at a time, but most of the time you're just going to deplete your ammunition for your pickup before you find another one anyways. And then the only other thing that you can collect over the course of the game is health pickups. Your health is denoted in the upper left corner. Underneath the character portrait, you'll see there's 3 little hearts. You could essentially take 2 hits, and then on the 3rd hit, you'll die. Now, you're not going to see me at low health very often, or I should say at all, because as you take hits, you will also lose parts of your clothes. So when you're low on health, you're going to be running around butt naked, blasting away baddies. So editing this video was pretty interesting because I had to make sure to edit all that out. You're not going to get any nudity here, sorry. So if you're interested, though, in all seriousness, of seeing any of the nudity or finding out more about the adult and sexual content in this game, there's a link in the pinned comment. Just head over to the Steam page and check it out for yourself. There's a pretty good sample there so you can get a good idea. But I am certainly not comfortable showing it here in my review. Each of the levels does have a few different checkpoints as you play through it, and these are pretty important because you will die a lot in this. This is by no means an easy game. They do have 2 different difficulties. There's an easy and a normal. I played through on normal. If you opt to play through on easy, you're going to be rewarded a bit less with some of that adult artwork, so just be aware that the reward is a bit less if you take the easy route, but the option's there. And for the most part, each of the levels has got a good bit of variety. Some of them have some really difficult hazards that you need to contend with. And overall, like, I died so much on this game. This game is very old school in the sense that it's trial and error. There's times where you're going to make mistakes, and then you're going to have to try again and again and again. And the checkpoints are not plentiful. There's only a couple per level. There is always one before the boss of each level, so that's nice because that's going to be the bulk of where your deaths come from. But do understand that you're going to have to spend a lot of time replaying sections. So I think that maybe this game's a tiny bit too hard. It's very punishing, and there are times where I genuinely got a bit frustrated because of having to replay certain sections over and over and over. It does have that like old school Ninja Gaiden and Castlevania level of cheapness where you will feel frustrated. The only other thing that really kind of bugged me is that you have to mash the button for each bullet that you shoot. Like, there's no auto fire at all, so it's really, really rough on the wrist, and really, really rough to just have to keep mashing the button over and over and over, especially since the bosses at the end of each level are incredibly spongy. They take a lot of damage to eliminate. And for the difficulty of the bosses, it's really kind of all over the place. A few of them aren't too bad, but others will take you several to a dozen tries. At least it did for me, and I consider myself pretty good at games like this. There's quite a bit of variety from each level to level. There's a decent amount of enemy variety as well. Each planet tends to introduce at least one enemy type, and you will also have the previous enemies from the other planets that you've already encountered. All of the boss fights are completely different. Some of them are pretty good, some of them are okay. I would only say that maybe one or two of them are kind of annoying and not really fun, but overall pretty good, I'll say. I think their goal with this game was to be enjoyable, but also be risque and adult. And I will say, I think they delivered on what they were trying to accomplish with this. It is a fun NES Famicom style run and gun, genuinely, but it also does have some elements from those games that I would have preferred they shied away from, like the brutal difficulty and the cheap deaths. But overall, it's one that I enjoyed for about the 3 hours that it took for me to play through this. There are some additional cutscenes and things that you can unlock, and it introduces more lore and naughty content for you to explore. So each level does have a bunch of beacons that are hidden, and then you can view any of this unlocked stuff at any time in the menus. There's not a whole lot here going on in terms of options, other than you can toggle scan lines on or off. If you like CRT scan lines, like, the option's there and it's on by default. You're seeing gameplay with it off because I don't really like that. But overall, Rya Crusade is a fun game if you enjoy adult-themed games. If you're only in it to get your rocks off, you'll probably accomplish that if you're good enough at the game to unlock the content. But if you're looking for something that's actually fun to play, and then the adult content is just an added bonus, like how I approach these games, then you'll be in for quite the treat, because this is definitely an enjoyable one. And there's going to be more content coming to this game soon, as they have teased some additional collectibles and naughty scenes, and a score and time challenge mode. So look forward to that. And if you enjoyed this review, which I hope you did, let me know so that I cover more adult games in the future. I do them once in a while, but since I'm more of a gameplay guy, they really have to pique my interest on that front. And thankfully, Rya Crusade definitely delivered for me. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, comment below if you have any questions, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. But until next time, have a good one.